Hey, this is John Young. Now, one of the things is you're getting ready to tackle some of these after the holidays projects in the house. You know, you had people over and you're thinking, gosh, I should do this. We've got some time. Things are a little bit slow here in January. So you want to tackle some projects. And the question becomes, well, where do I start? This is a video for those of you who, if you've got a ton of power tools and tools, this isn't a video for you. This is for those of you who are like, I don't even know where to start. What do I buy first that's going to give me the best bang for the buck? And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So first off, in 2020, a lot of people spent a lot of time going out and doing some DIY projects around the house. They did a survey and found out that Craftsman tools, which I have a lot of Craftsman tools, the reason for that is because my grandpa had Craftsman, my father had Craftsman, and I've got Craftsman stuff. It has been stood the test of time, really, in many generations of the family. Craftsman tools is one of the what the people have used the most in their projects. When they did a survey and they were asking people, hey, what kind of tools were you using? Craftsman was up towards the top of that because of the name and having a history with a lot of people. The tools that were used, two of them that were the most common that were used, was a circular saw, just a standard circular saw. Now, I'm showing you things that are going to be on the V20. The V20 is using a little, let me just pop this out of the charger. It's using a little 20-volt battery here in this. This is a 2 amp hour. The one on the charger is a 4 amp hour, so they've got a variety of different sizes. But two of the most popular tools for home improvement projects was the circular saw and the cordless drill, or a drill of some sort, again in the 20-volt line here. Now that gives you a lot of flexibility. Now people are generally asking the question when they see these kits that are out there and they're like, hey, what should I buy? Well, I'm going to give you a few tips on my thoughts. Now this isn't this isn't the gospel. This is my thoughts as someone who has children who are going to be getting ready to go out and do some projects, that I can say, hey, this is what I would purchase first. Let's start with the tools, the powered tools, because there's a variety of handheld tools. The first one I think I would buy, if you don't already have, is you need to have a cordless drill. Now people say, well, we've got the drill, and then there's many lines that have a little driver with that, an impact driver of some sort. You can use this and buy the combo pack if you are looking for it. If you're tight on money and you need to buy basically prioritize your tools, the drill can do a lot of things. It cannot certainly drill and do a variety of different things with that, but you can put different devices in here into the chuck, which is just a keyless chuck. And what that means is that I can just hold it and put things in and tighten it or loosen it by holding onto this keyless chuck. This will be able to drive in screws. It can drill those holes. You can put an adapter in here to use this as a power socket device to run with the socket heads. It is probably the most flexible. This would be number one. Number two, I think I would agree with that list, is a good circular saw. With this circular saw, I can do a variety of different things. I can obviously cut boards. I can set my depth and adjust where's that depth adjustment? That's my tip. There it is on this side. I can adjust the depth of what I'm going to be cutting from plywood to 2x and such material. This particular one is I believe 6.5-inch blade on this one. That's a nice size. They make larger ones that are brushless and have all sorts of different things, but this for most homeowners is a nice size. It's also nice because of being right-handed. I can see the blade as I'm kind of running down my line that I put on the board. This is a great second tool, but one thing I would recommend, no battery by the way, is when you're working with tools and saws, take a moment to check and make sure that the blade is square with the bed as you're going to be going across. Now you'll see that there is a little gauge right here in the front that allows you to tip it and get it so it's adjusting for angles. But one of the most frustrating things as a beginning person cutting with these saws is that you put the little quick square, you put that up against the bed and the blade, and make sure that your cut is going to be square. If it's not, none of your projects are going to turn out very well. It's going to be kind of a chaotic mess. So take a little time to get familiar with the saw. make sure it's square, cut a piece of scrap, and then check and make sure that it is square. Because you can run the piece of scrap on there, you can put this on the bottom of it and put this over on the edge of it and see if it's a true cut, squared that way and squared that way, and it'll help tremendously on making sure that you have a better quality project. So the first two tools right here. Now that we can get into blowers and all lights and all sorts of different things. But if you're going to be doing things around the house, probably something that you might be doing is maybe adding some trim around whatever. It might be a project you're going to build a little shelf and you want to add some nice fine cut. While this can do a lot, if you're going to be serious about doing some projects, this might be the next tool I would recommend for flexibility. This is a 7.5 inch, this is in the V20 series, but this is a compound miter saw that we're looking at right here. And this is actually something I've been really excited to get into. This is something I finally ordered in the Craftsman line. I have other versions in other lines, and there's a few things that happen with some of the other ones. First off, I want one that will come down so nice and smooth, and I have one old one that you have to kind of trip this to get it to go, and it's just a real pain. So I'm really excited about this. But why this is important is the compound miter is that, well, first off, what a compound miter is. There's two different types of saws in this line. There is a miter saw, which a miter saw basically has, this does not slide out or in, it's just basically fixed, and it just comes down and cuts. You can set the little arm here. You can set it to whatever you want. So if you want to do a 90-degree cut, so you're doing a square cut, you put it there, you put your material up against the bed, and boom, you cut off, you're good to go. That's a miter saw. A compound miter has these little sliders on the back, so you can come out and be able to cut more with your task. This particular unit here from Craftsman will be able to handle up to I think about a 9-inch piece, so you can basically do about a 2x10 on a 90-degree. Then if you turn it to 45, this is where for doing picture frames or to trim out a door or different things, you need to cut 45s. So you can move it over to 45, and at 45 degrees you can cut about a 6-inch. So you can do a 2x6. So the 2x6 is technically about 1 5/8 by 5 5/8 inches. It's not a true 6 inches, but this will cut a true 6 inches at that 45 degrees. Now you're probably thinking, well, I want to do some more cool things, like maybe cut multiple angles, like a 45 and then taper it. That's what's cool about the miter saw, is you can adjust it. You can tip. Let me just loosen this. You could actually tip it additionally and set it and lock it in. Now, why this is better an improvement over the circular saw? I can do a lot of the same things with the circular saw, but I'm not going to have the control and a consistency. That's the big part. Why a miter saw or a compound miter saw would be something to look at. Price-wise, these are not crazy out there, and you've got a lot of flexibility. And then once you're done, you can put it on a shelf. I like the battery version just because I can take it up to, let's say I'm going to do some trim work in a bedroom upstairs. I can take it to that room, do my cutting. I can actually, they've got the attachments and such to hook up a vacuum to it so I can suck the dust away and keep it as dust free as possible. So I think this would probably be the R1, 2, and 3. Now when we go beyond that, there's a lot of different tools out there that, there's sanders. That would probably be number 4. I think I've got one. I think I actually have one of the sanders here somewhere. I've got a little orbital sander here. This one is actually one that I haven't been using because the one that I do use is in the other building. I was doing a project with it. But just a sander to help with that. But sanding can be done with a block or even the sponge sanders. So priority is what we're talking about. Getting into sanders, it would be getting next. There's just a variety of different things. But for most homeowners who are doing some little woodworking projects, 1, 2, 3 would be my recommendation. You can get into table saws. There's so many things out there, and that's going to be bumping up as you continue along. That's pretty much it, talking about the powered tools to start off with. I'm going to jump to our next video. We're going to talk about the non-powered tools I would recommend starting out with if you are just getting started doing some DIY projects around the house. This is John Young. Thank you for watching.